Welcome to this guide on growing oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms are a delicious and nutritious food, and they're also relatively easy to grow. This guide will teach you how to grow oyster mushrooms at home. It's for everyone. You don't need any special skills to grow mushrooms. With a little patience, you can grow your own mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms are a type of fungi. Fungi are not plants, they are different living things. Fungi get their food from decaying organic matter, which is different from plants that make their own food. To grow oyster mushrooms, you'll need a few things. You will need a substrate, spawn, and a suitable growing environment. The substrate is the material that the mushrooms will grow on. Sawdust and straw are common substrates. Spawn is the mushroom culture used to start the mushroom growth. The growing environment should be warm, humid, and dark. This guide will teach you everything you need to know to grow your own oyster mushrooms. Let's get started. The first step to growing oyster mushrooms is to prepare the substrate. The substrate is the material that the mushrooms will grow on. Several materials can be used as a substrate, with sawdust and straw being popular choices. These materials are readily available. Once you've chosen your substrate, you need to pasteurize it. Pasteurization is important because it kills any harmful bacteria or fungi that could compete with your mushrooms. To pasteurize your substrate, you can submerge it in hot water. The water should be around 160 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep the substrate submerged for about an hour. After the substrate has been pasteurized, it needs to be cooled down. Once cooled, you can add the spawn. Spawn is the mushroom culture that will start the mushroom growth. You can purchase spawn from a variety of online retailers. Sprinkle the spawn evenly over the substrate and mix it in well. Now it is time to fill your growing bags. You can use special mushroom growing bags, but large, clear plastic bags also work well. Fill the bags with the substrate and spawn mixture, making sure the bags are not too tightly packed. The mushrooms need space to grow. After you have filled your bags, it is time to move them to a warm, dark place. This is the incubation stage, where the mushrooms will start to grow. The ideal temperature for incubation is between 70 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The incubation period lasts for about 2 to 3 weeks. During this time, the mushroom mycelium will start to grow. Mycelium looks like white thread-like strands and will begin to colonize the substrate. Once the substrate is fully colonized, it is time to move the bags to a fruiting chamber. A fruiting chamber is a space with high humidity and indirect sunlight. To create a fruiting chamber, you can use a large plastic tote and simply cut some holes in the sides for air circulation. Inside the fruiting chamber, mist the mushrooms regularly. It is important to keep the humidity high. The mushrooms will start to fruit in about a week. You will see small, white bumps appear on the surface of the substrate. These bumps will eventually grow into mushrooms. Section 4. Reaping the rewards. Harvesting your mushrooms. The mushrooms will be ready to harvest in about a week or two. You can tell they're ready when the caps start to flatten out. To harvest the mushrooms, simply twist them off at the base. After harvesting your mushrooms, you can clean and store them. Use a damp cloth to wipe away any dirt or debris. Store the mushrooms in a paper bag in the refrigerator. They will last for about a week. Section 5. Overcoming challenges, pests and solutions. Growing oyster mushrooms is relatively easy. However, there are a few challenges that you may face. One common challenge is pests. Fungus, gnats, and mites can be a problem. These pests are attracted to the moist environment. They can damage your mushrooms. To prevent pests, it is important to keep your growing area clean. Remove any debris or spent substrate. You can also use sticky traps to catch adult insects. Another solution is to introduce beneficial nematodes to your substrate. These tiny worms will help control the pest population. Another challenge is maintaining the correct temperature and humidity levels. Oyster mushrooms prefer warm, humid environments. If the temperature is too low, the mushrooms will grow slowly. If the humidity is too low, the mushrooms will dry out. To maintain the correct temperature and humidity levels, you can use a humidifier and a heater. You can also mist the mushrooms regularly. Make sure your growing area has adequate ventilation. Section 6. Conclusion: mushrooms for a better future. Growing oyster mushrooms can be a rewarding experience. It is a great way to provide fresh, healthy food for your family. Mushroom cultivation can also be a source of income. Oyster mushrooms are becoming increasingly popular. They are a versatile ingredient. You can use them in a variety of dishes. Growing your own mushrooms is good for the environment. It reduces your reliance on industrial agriculture. Mushroom cultivation also helps to recycle waste materials like sawdust and straw. These materials are often discarded. However, they can be used to grow delicious mushrooms. With a little patience and effort, you can grow your own oyster mushrooms. Start small and gradually expand your operations. Share your knowledge with others. Encourage your friends and neighbors to grow their own food. Together we can create a more sustainable and food-secure future.